it is very odd that, again, because I can come to people and be like, oh, AAA gaming companies are trying to do everything in their power to make the product as cheap, right? Make the product as like with little or no effort and little or no money as humanly possible, but demand more money for it, right? And again, the way I break it down is okay. What you do is again, like some companies use male character models for female characters, and just because of the way they walk, some companies again they have 1,000 different additions to the same fucking game. They do the Ubisoft thing where they have a season pass and a single player game, and you don't even the game's not even out, right? And then they already have goddamn DLC for it, and they do this for every game. Artistically, the game is trash. And people are like, oh, well, graphics don't matter. And it's like, well, if you're a AAA fucking multi-billion-dollar company, yes, it does. Like, you try, you convince people that it does matter. Like, they justify games costing like $300 million to make and $70 to buy, and they sell it off the graphics. So according to the companies themselves, it matters. And you'll say, oh well, for like what? Do you have company games that are do not trust that you will play the game the way they want you to? So again, you have yet another Star Wars game like Star Wars Outlaws that you play just some random character, you get railroaded down the same path and the same story. Very few games allow customization, allow player choice because they do not trust you to play the game the way they want you to play it, right? So they impose the story on you. Like, the story is already, like, the writer has the idea, and the story is more revolving around the writer than the other way around. And again, I explain this to people, and they can 100% understand, right? But then you say, oh, well, they just do not. There is a push to remove sexuality from games, and the exact same people are just like, all right, you're a Coomer now. And it's like, well, okay, this is still part of everything I've said beforehand. You're a Coomer now, man. You're a porn addict. You just want to watch porn. And it's just odd that again you have to. There's a specific way you need to structure your argument. Like I watch Moist Critical, but he's one of those people that if you structure your argument and you say just one or two wrong words, it's like his brain just shuts off to the argument itself, and it's like I see. But this is one of those arguments. Like again, I think this was for with Blizzard. Oh no, it was Riot. The makers of League of Legends. And again, League of Legends was sold off, beautiful female characters. Above all the other things, again, it's like the seasoning on a 5-star steak. You know, you wouldn't just have the seasoning because it's like, oh well, why? Like the steak is the main course. The game, the story, you know, the mechanics, like that's all the steak, right? But again, you have the sexy factor, which is like the seasoning. It just makes it better, right? And I guess I'm just a simple man, right? I want sex and violence in my games. Now I have this completely inhuman ability to differentiate between what I want in fiction and what I want in reality. Like this is just a mindset that people just do not have, or at least they do have. They just have this ideology that they impose on everyone else, and think everyone else does not have this ability, right? They think you're the mentally ill one for being like, okay, why can I not have titties in my game? Again, a game that costs $300 million, right? That is probably not going to sell. Like in the next Ubisoft, in game, and I shit on Ubisoft all the fucking time. Like, I need a better example. But what other fucking games are coming out from companies that are, predominantly, uh, that are, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Like, that people are talking about. And again, this is with other games too. Like, okay, Grand Theft Auto's the same way. But, I mean, at least in Grand Theft Auto 6, there's still going to be that damn strip club. But, and again, and they remove these things, right? They remove the sex. They keep the violence. They keep the gratuitous violence. But they remove the sex appeal because, again, it's just another attempt to make the product as cheap as possible. And there are, again, there are people who are ideologically possessed to impose this. Like, they have the ideology that they impose this, and then even normies will defend this. It's like, this is just part of the initial problem I was talking about. This week, it's Sexy Champs Art and Animation. The competition with the MOBAs, and reminder, asks Riot's 1-year anniversary is coming up in a few weeks, and we're going to celebrate by having Mark Tryanmere, Mel and Brandon Rise Beck, aka the co-founder of Riot and co-creator of League, sit down and answer a bunch of them. If you've got a burning question for the guys who started with this whole thing, ask away. Look for their anniversary. Ask Riot sometime, whatever the fuck that is. So again, the co-founders, like the big guys, are sitting down, and people are just asking candidly. It's like the question: when will you make sexy girls champions? Again, and it's also the fact that you see the male champions, and they look buff, they look butch, and there are very little changes to them. But the female characters are absolutely changed, right? Even if it's tiny changes, they're changed nonetheless. It's like Mortal Kombat 1, the game that, again, was there, but then, no, everyone forgot about it, right? The male characters look the same, albeit a little bit soy, but the female characters have absolutely been changed. Like, they've tinkered with the genome. They've given them the man jaw. They've removed the tits. And again, people are looking at this and it's like, well, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why do they beat them with the ugly stick? And again, you have to craft your argument very, carefully, because there are people that will just shut their minds off to what you're saying. Even if they agree with everything else. Like, they will call you a coomer. They'll call you a porn addict. It's just the thing they're supposed to say. And it's like, okay, well, again, this is just another attempt to mass produce art, to mass produce the product. Now, I guess they have an ideology that makes this okay. And again, the fact of the matter is they don't like the male gaze. They don't like things that, again, are for guys, because guys like games. Like, it's for men, but they want to take away the things that men like in the game, because, again, they believe that the journalists are the people that they're making the games for instead of the fucking market. Like, look, Skull and Bones, right? That quadruple A game, quote unquote, would have been better if it just had sexy women in it, and people, it's like, okay, I'm gonna shut my brain off to it now and just play. Like, it's the reason why Nikkei got us a victory, is the money printing machine that it is. And it's odd that MOBAs are giving this to people, well, AAA games are not. Like, I do believe MOBAs are now indie games are the future of gaming. So the question is, when will you make sexy girl champions? This is a okay, I guess I'll read through this. I talked about this recently on Reddit, so here's a quick copy paste. In 2013, we made a conscious effort to shift away from the hourglass girls we had been making for years. We just had so many women in our game that could easily be described by Syndra, but in a different cosplay. We need more variety. There are a lot of different ways to making compelling female characters that don't involve around raw sex appeal. IMO having a large variety of females and male characters is really good for us. Let us hit a ton of different niches, which is important with a roster as big as ours. I mean, again, yeah, and that's fine. But changing characters have already existed. I mean, you already made the characters and you're putting in time and effort to change them. That's what people are worried about. You know? Again, you can have a couple of them with the man jaw, a couple of them with the tiny breast, but keep the champions that exist the same. That said, it has been a long time, over 3 years, since we made a new First Order appealing female character like a Lux, Ari, or Jinx. I think it's important we make another, not because OMG sex appeal, but because I feel attractive. Is a compelling character fantasy that a lot of players, men and women, really attach to. The key is the character's looks have to make sense visually. Like, why does it have to make sense? You're making fiction, right? There's absolutely no reason why in fucking fiction it has to quote unquote make sense. Like, if I want to go to the make sense, I'd walk the fuck outside, right? Like, I'll take you the advice of the people that for some reason have a problem with Coomers, right? Like, what the fuck did the Coomers ever do to you? And tell them, oh, you should just go outside. And it's like, okay, I've gone outside, right? I'm not a Coomer, but I've taken your advice. And I see women that looks like Lux and Ari and Jinx, and it's just normal. So why? And then I've seen women that don't. But again, in fiction, why am I not allowed to have the Lux, Ari, or Jinx? Visuals should support the overall theme of the character, not be there in spite of it. The way Caitlyn looks makes no sense for a prim and proper sheriff, and the way Ara looks makes a ton of sense for a succubus. It is also crucial to recognize that even within the attractive character space, there is a huge potential variety in the ways that attractiveness can express itself. There's a reason I use Lux, Ari, and Jinx in the above example. As long as the characters visuals serve the resonate with its theme, we shouldn't be afraid of going the sexy route. Lee's got room for all kinds. I mean, I guess this is it's a good answer, but again, the idea that, oh, it needs to quote unquote make sense is like, no, again, most people predominantly care for the meta, what works, and also the things they like, and League has absolutely expressed that. Like, you can play a character that you like while also playing the meta. I don't care about all this, but again, I just wanted to get to this question because, again, it's odd that this is something that AAA companies are actively trying to remove the sexy factor. And it's like, well, why? Again, in a game for men, and again, people believe Coomers just should not be allowed to have a product. And it's like, why? What is wrong with you? Well, what do you have against the Coomer? Like, I think your obsession to make the Coomer suffer is irrational. And right, don't ever put me on the same fucking level as the Coomers. I'm the legendary Coomer, right? Like, I don't even need the sex appeal to get off. Like, I got my third eye peering into the Cooming dimension, and I can get off with that alone. Like, do not ever put me on the same level as the regular peasant Coomer. I'm the Coomer raid boss. Thank you very little. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Peace.